What if I told you that tonight, as you close your eyes and surrender to this transformative journey, you are not simply going to sleep? What if I told you that you are embarking on a sacred pilgrimage into the very heart of your own power? This is a journey of wealth reprogramming built upon the eternal foundation of the law of the Word. Tonight, you do not simply close your eyes to escape the world. You close them to build a new one. You are stepping into what is known as the Divine Workshop, a sanctuary beyond the reach of doubt, a space where the heavy chains of financial struggle are dissolved, and your destiny is rewritten in the language of gold and light. Tonight, you stop being a passenger in your life, and you become the architect. Tonight, you speak to the substance of the universe not as a beggar, but as the authority you were always intended to be. By the time you wake from this immersion, something fundamental will have shifted. You will hold within you the sacred keys that unlock the doors to infinite supply, keys that have been hidden behind the noise of your waking hours, but are now finally ready to be claimed. We are working with spiritual principles that operate with the precision of a natural law. As you surrender to this process, you are inviting your consciousness to move from the frequency of wanting toward the frequency of having. The aim of this immersion is for you to wake with a deepened realization that you and your wealth are fundamentally one and the same. Before we begin this descent, if this message resonates with your spirit, gently tap the like button and subscribe so these teachings can continue to find you. If you are ready for a new reality, declare it in the comments by writing, "I enter into the sacred covenant of 21 nights." This is your contract with your future self. Tonight, something extraordinary is unfolding in the silence. In the early 20th century, the legendary Florence Scovel Shinn spoke of the fourth dimension and the superconscious mind. She was a pioneer of the invisible, teaching thousands how to navigate the unseen realms of belief to manifest tangible results in the seen world. In our modern world, we understand this as the miraculous bridge between your analytical brain and your subconscious depths. Those states of theta and delta, where the mind is most receptive to change. While the language has evolved to meet our modern understanding of how the mind works, the truth remains the same. When the conscious mind rests, the soul speaks. We are using the maps of modern science, the understanding of neuroplasticity and brainwave frequencies, to navigate the same spiritual oceans that Florence explored so masterfully. Tonight, we bridge the gap between ancient wisdom and modern understanding. We are taking the timeless principles of the power of the spoken word and applying them to the very architecture of your mind. While your physical body rests in the stillness of the night, your consciousness is being completely reconstructed. Every limiting belief that was handed down to you like a tattered, ill-fitting garment, every jagged fear of scarcity that has acted as a dam against your natural flow, every whisper of unworthiness that has kept you playing small in a vast universe, all of it is being gathered up and cast into the nothingness from which it came. In its place, we are installing the divine truth that has stood the test of centuries. You are a child of the infinite. You are not poor. You have never been poor. You have simply been operating under a temporary veil of poverty consciousness. And tonight, that veil is being lifted. We are replacing it with a wealth identity, a state of being so rooted in abundance that money is drawn to you as naturally and as inevitably as the tide is drawn to the moon. Now let the world of doing fade away. For this work to begin, the vessel must be still. I want you to feel the weight of your body pressing into the bed beneath you. This is the gravity of grace. You are being held by the earth, and the earth is a part of the divine substance. There is no separation between you and the ground, and there is no separation between you and the wealth you seek. Relax the muscles of your face. Often we carry our financial stress in the jaw, the place where we bite back our fears and clench against the world. Let the jaw go slack. Let the forehead become smooth and wide, like the surface of a still lake at midnight. Imagine the noise of the day, the numbers, the voices, the frantic emails. Imagine them as a swarm of bees. Now watch them fly away, further and further, until the air around you is perfectly silent. Move your awareness to your shoulders. This is where you have been carrying the luggage of not enough. It is the tension of the hustle. It is the false belief that you must fight for your life. Breathe into your shoulders now, and as you exhale, let them sink. You are no longer the doer. You are the receiver. Watch as those heavy bags of worry dissolve into a golden mist. Now, feel your heart. This is your magnetic center. An engine cannot work if it is clogged with the silt of resentment. If you are angry at a past mistake or a system that felt rigged against you, let that anger go now. Not because it wasn't real, but because your heart needs the space for gold. You cannot hold a grudge and a miracle at the same time. Breathe out the resentment. Breathe in the opulence. Visualize a golden light at the base of your throat. This is the seat of the word. This is where your wand is kept. See this light growing brighter with every slow, shallow breath. You are a sovereign being, and tonight you are reclaiming your throne. Florence Scovel Shinn observed that the world is not something that happens to you, but something that is called forth by you. Most of us use our wands unconsciously, describing the very things we hate until they become our permanent reality. What if the reason you have not yet manifested the wealth you desire is not because you aren't working hard enough, but because you are literally speaking your lack into existence every single hour of your waking day? But tonight, the reporting ends. Tonight, the decree begins. You are entering the sacred threshold, that quiet, powerful space where the subconscious mind, finally freed from the resistance of the logical day self, becomes a perfect receiving station for unlimited prosperity. Imagine yourself now, standing at the edge of a great golden ocean. This is the ocean of divine substance. It is vast, sparkling, and infinite. It holds everything you could ever need. You are standing on the shore, carrying those tattered bags of "I can't." One by one, drop them into the sand. Cast the burden of financial worry upon the divine within you. You do not need to figure out how the money will come. The how is the business of the infinite. Your only job is to stay in the knowing that it is. Repeat these words in the sanctuary of your mind as you drift. I cast every burden of lack into the sea of nothingness. I am free to receive. I am open to have. I am a match for the opulence of the universe. As you move deeper into the night, your mind will become a divine blueprint. We are drafting a new reality. Trust the darkness. Trust the sleep. Trust that the law is working even when you cannot see the evidence with your physical eyes. Your wealth is a mathematical certainty. By the end of this journey, you will have moved from a state of chasing to a state of being. Listen closely, beloved. You are a child of the infinite. The infinite does not know lack. The infinite does not know debt. As you sleep tonight, you are reclaiming your inheritance. Infinite Spirit, open the way for my divine supply. Let the manifest gold of the universe flow into my life in a perfect way, under grace, for the good of all. I do not ask for a portion. I claim the whole. My word is my wand. Every word I speak tonight creates a highway of abundance. I'm no longer blocked by the boulders of fear. I'm the flow itself. I'm divinely guided to my perfect place, doing my perfect work for the perfect pay. My work is a blessing to the world, and the world responds by blessing me with wealth. Money is a servant of my will. It comes to me in avalanches of abundance. I use it with wisdom, with generosity, and with joy. I am a channel for the wealth of the infinite. The old story is dissolved. The red ink of the past is washed away by the gold light of the present. I am wealthy. I am free. I am home. Now, let us walk together into the first great hall of your own consciousness. Beyond the physical room where you lie, beyond the walls and the ceiling that shelter your body, there is a vast and silent architecture that belongs only to you. Florence Scovel Shinn often spoke of the house of the soul. She understood that you do not truly live in a world made of brick and mortar. You live in a world constructed of thought, expectation, and vibration. If your inner house is cluttered with the broken furniture of fear and the thick dust of old debts, your outer life will inevitably reflect that same disorder. But tonight, the cleaning has begun. We are walking through the halls of the inner mansion to reclaim the sacred space where your wealth is born. Listen closely, for this is where the spiritual alchemy begins. In our modern world, we speak of brain waves, beta, alpha, theta, and delta. We use these terms to describe the slowing of the mind. But in the language of the spirit, these are simply the different levels of your inner mansion. Right now, as the world of the day begins to fade into a distant memory, you are moving away from the front porch of your mind and into the deeper, more sacred chambers where the laws of man no longer apply. The front porch is the state of beta. This is the realm of the five senses. It is the noisiest part of your existence. On the front porch, you see the balance in your account, and your heart sinks. You hear the news of a struggling economy, and your stomach tightens. The front porch is crowded with the opinions of others, the memory of past mistakes, and the frantic, breathless need to make things happen through sheer physical force. Most people spend their entire lives on this porch, shouting at the world, trying to bargain with life, and begging for money to come to them. But money does not respond to shouting. Money does not respond to desperation. Money is a shy servant that only responds to the quiet, unshakable authority of the inner chambers. As you breathe, feel yourself moving away from that noisy porch. You are closing the heavy oaken door on the distractions of the day. You are entering the Hall of Alpha. This is the space of the gentle evening. In this hall, the sharp, jagged edges of your problems begin to soften. The cold logic that told you there is no way out starts to feel less certain, less permanent. Here, the lantern of the imagination begins to glow with a warm, golden light. This is the place where you start to realize that the infinite spirit is infinitely larger than any bank statement or any debt. In the hall of Alpha, you are no longer a victim. You are a visionary. But here is the truth you must understand to proceed further. You cannot enter the deeper, more powerful halls if you are still carrying the heavy sword of resistance. This is the great secret that Florence shared with the world, the law of non-resistance. She famously taught, "Resist not evil. Be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good." In the realm of finance, what we call evil is simply the appearance of lack. It is the unpaid bill. It is the lost opportunity. It is the fear that there will not be enough for tomorrow. When you resist these things, when you hate them, when you fight against them with anger, and when you worry over them with a panicked heart, you are actually tying them to you with chains of steel. Resistance is the strongest of spiritual glues. If you are angry at your lack, you are giving that lack your most precious resource, your focused attention. And whatever you give your focused attention to, you multiply. To enter the inner mansion of wealth, you must drop the sword. You must become non-resistant. This does not mean you are weak or passive. It means you are so certain of your divine supply that the current appearance of lack does not move you. You look at the debt and you say, "I see you, shadow, but you have no substance. My infinite spirit is my substance." You look at the empty space where the money should be and you say, "This is not a void. It is the fertile ground where my gold is currently forming under the surface." You move through the world with the poise of a person who knows the check is already in the mail. Now, let us speak of the one error that keeps the gate of the mansion locked tight. It is the error of trying to see the physical how. Your logical mind is obsessed with the map. It wants to know exactly which person will call, which job will open, and which investment will turn in your favor. But the how is none of your business. The how is the exclusive business of the infinite spirit. When you try to figure out the how, you are standing in the doorway of your own mansion, physically blocking your supply from entering. The divine architecture does not work like a human business. It does not need a logical path of cause and effect. It creates its own paths through the wilderness. Florence taught us the divine supply is never too late and never too early. It is always perfectly on time, and it has thousands of ways of reaching you that you could not imagine in 1,000 years of thinking. Your only job is to stay in the hall of expectancy. Consider the story of an individual named Avery. Avery was a talented professional who had reached a complete standstill. Every project Avery touched seemed to dry up at the last moment. Avery was a person of great skill, but Avery was living in a state of fierce, constant resistance. Avery fought with competitors in the mind, resented the rising costs of the city, and woke up every morning with a clenched jaw, ready to do battle for every single dollar. Avery was a master of the hustle, but the hustle was producing nothing but gray hairs and an empty heart. Avery came to understand the law of non-resistance and realized that the clenched jaw was the very thing closing the doors of opportunity. Avery began a radical practice of releasing the fight. Avery would sit in the silence of this inner mansion and say, "Infinite Spirit, I no longer fight my circumstances. I am a non-resistant being. I stand still and see the salvation of the law. I give thanks that my good now reaches me in a perfect way, under grace." At first, Avery felt a strange sense of panic. The old logic screamed, if you don't fight, you will lose everything. But the law is exact. As Avery stopped resisting the world stopped resisting Avery. A former rival reached out with a proposal for a joint venture that was more lucrative than anything Avery had ever tried to build through struggle. Opportunities began to flow like a river because Avery was no longer a jagged rock blocking the stream. Avery had become the water itself. Avery moved from the front porch of struggle into the hall of Alpha, where the vision of plenty was finally allowed to breathe. As you move deeper, you are now entering the hall of Theta. This is the chamber of the subconscious. In the physical world, they call this the state of deep relaxation, the magical threshold of sleep. But in the inner mansion, this is the divine workshop. This is the place where the word becomes flesh and the thought becomes the thing. When you are in the hall of Theta, your critical mind, that noisy sentry that stood on the front porch, is finally asleep. It can no longer argue with you. It can no longer say, that's impossible. The walls between you and the infinite spirit are now as thin as a veil of silk. In this workshop, you are currently rewriting the very code of your financial reality. Imagine yourself now, sitting at a grand mahogany desk in the absolute center of this hall. The air is cool and still. Before you lies the ledger of your life. For years, this ledger has been filled with the jagged red ink of not enough. You can see the entries for debt, fear, and hard labor. But now, look at your hand. You are holding a pen made of pure golden light. This is the pen of the spoken word. With this pen, you are crossing out the old entries. You are striking a bold line through the word debt. You are erasing the word struggle. You are dissolving the word limitation. And in their place, you are writing in steady, beautiful letters, prosperity, unlimited flow, divine rebate, avalanches of abundance. Listen closely, beloved, for this is the key. The subconscious mind is a faithful servant. It does not have a sense of humor. It does not judge whether what you write is realistic. Whatever you write in the hall of Theta, it accepts as the new and absolute law of your existence. If you write, I am wealthy, it immediately begins to rearrange the atoms of your life to make that sentence a physical fact. But you must be still. You must be non-resistant. There's a story of a traveler who was carrying a heavy pack on their back while walking along a long, dusty road. A man in a beautiful carriage pulled up and offered the traveler a ride. The traveler climbed in, grateful for the seat, but kept the heavy pack strapped tightly to their shoulders. The man in the carriage looked back and asked, "Why don't you set your pack down on the floor?" The traveler replied, "Oh, it's enough that you are carrying me. I couldn't possibly ask you to carry my pack as well." Most people are exactly like this traveler. They say they trust the infinite spirit. They say they believe in the law, but they keep the pack of worry strapped to their shoulders. They lie in bed and try to solve the problems of next year. Tonight, I am asking you to set the pack down. Let the carriage carry you, and let it carry your pack. Cast the burden of the how onto the floor of the divine workshop. You are in the hall of Theta now. The work is being done by a power that knows how to turn a seed into a forest. Now, move your awareness into the hall of Delta. This is the great silence. This is the deepest part of the mansion, the place where the you that has a name and a history fades away, and you become completely one with the divine substance. In this hall, there are no words, For words are too small. There is only being. In the hall of Delta, you are an atom of the infinite, and the infinite is opulent beyond human comprehension. Look at the stars in the midnight sky, billions upon billions of suns, far more than any human could ever count. Look at the leaves on a single oak tree, the grains of sand on a single beach. The divine does not know the meaning of just enough. The divine only knows overflow. When you rest in the great silence of Delta, you are bathing in the very substance of wealth itself. You are soaking it in through your spirit, through your soul, and through your very cells. You are realizing the most profound truth of all. You do not have to get wealth from the outside world. You are made of the very same stuff that wealth is made of. You are a piece of the gold. You are a wave in the ocean of opulence. In this hall, you are being remagnetized. But here is the warning you must heed. You must be a good steward of this silence. When you eventually wake from this mansion, the world will try to drag you back to the front porch. The news will scream about a shortage. In those moments, you must remember the halls. You must say to yourself, I am not on the porch. I am in the mansion. I am a non-resistant being. I do not fight the shadow of lack. I turn my face toward the sun of supply. Consider the gardener. A gardener does not stand over the soil and scream at the seeds to grow faster. They plant the seed, and then they walk away in the absolute knowing that the law of growth is already at work. Tonight, you are both the gardener and the seed. Your word is the seed. Your subconscious is the fertile soil. And these sacred hours are the darkness where the growth happens. Everything you have ever desired is already in this mansion. It is not being built. It is being unveiled. I am a non-resistant being. My good now reaches me in a perfect way. The sentry is asleep. The gate is open. I am in the divine workshop. My reality is being rewritten in gold. I am not my bank account. I am the infinite supply. Every dollar I spend returns to me multiplied. I am a channel of the divine circulation. I cast the burden of how onto the infinite spirit. I stay in the knowing. My good is reaching me now. Under grace and in a perfect way. Listen closely, beloved, for we now move into the chamber of the Great Reset. Florence Scovel Shinn taught a truth that acts as a profound solvent for every financial chain. She said that there is no loss in the divine mind. Therefore, there can be no loss in your reality unless your own word decrees it so. She often reminded us that no man is your enemy, and no man is your friend, but every man is your teacher. Tonight, we must look at the teacher of debt and lack, and we must graduate from its school forever. In the ancient spiritual laws, there was a season called the Jubilee. It was a time when all debts were canceled, all prisoners were set free, and every individual was returned to their original state of opulence. Many believe this was merely a historical event, a tradition of a forgotten time. But Florence taught us that the Jubilee is a permanent state of consciousness. It is the law of forgiveness in action. To forgive means to give for. You give a thought of abundance for a thought of lack. You give a word of success for a word of failure. You give the realization of your divine inheritance for the weary memory of your human struggle. But here's the truth you must understand as you drift deeper. You cannot enter your jubilee while you are still carrying the heavy weight of the past. Most seekers are held back not by the world, but by their own memory. They have what we call a debt consciousness. They wake up and they reap the harvest of yesterday's worries. They feel they are being punished for past financial errors, or that they must pay a price for old mistakes. But Florence taught that the law of God is a law of forgiveness. When you change your word, you neutralize the karma of your old bots. You step out from under the law of hard labor and into the law of grace. Consider the story of an individual named Elena. Elena was a person who felt they were walking through a desert that would never end. Elena was buried under a mountain of debt that felt as solid and immovable as stone. Elena had made a series of investments that had soured, and there was a deep, biting shame attached to those choices. Every night, Elena would lie in the dark and tell the subconscious, "I was a fool. I am paying for my ignorance. I will be in this hole for the rest of my life." Elena was using the wand of the word to build a prison. Elena was reaping exactly what was being sown in the mind. Every time Elena looked at a bill, it wasn't just paper. It was a judge sentencing Elena to more struggle. When Elena first heard the teachings of the law, the instructions seemed impossible. Elena was told, "You must forgive yourself for your past. You must declare that in the divine mind, there is no debt. You must stop looking at the mountain and start speaking to the mountain." Elena began a practice of divine erasure. Every time the thought of debt arose, Elena did not fight it. That would be resistance. Instead, Elena used the law of substitution. Elena would say, "Infinite Spirit, I give thanks that the law of Jubilee is now in effect in my life. Every debt is wiped out in the invisible. I am free, for God is my paymaster." For weeks, the mountain did not seem to move. The creditors still called. The numbers stayed the same. But Elena had learned the secret of the shout of victory. Elena knew that the walls of Jericho did not fall because they were pushed. They fell because the people shouted before the walls were down. They celebrated the victory while the obstacle was still standing. Elena began to shout in the silence of the heart. Elena began to prepare for freedom. Elena cleared out the old filing cabinets where the records of lack were kept. Elena bought a small, beautiful ledger and wrote on the first page, "The record of my divine overflow." Elena acted as if the Jubilee had already arrived. Then the perfect way revealed itself. Elena received a notification about a legal settlement from a company worked for a decade prior, a settlement Elena had never even known was in progress. The amount was almost to the penny what was owed to the creditors. But more than the money, it was the grace of it. The how had nothing to do with hard work. It had everything to do with the word. Elena had cast the burden, and the divine paymaster had settled the account. Now, as you drift deeper into the stillness of this deep, quiet night, we are going to perform your own act of Jubilee. We are going to wipe your ledger clean. Imagine yourself now walking into a great garden. This is the garden of your subconscious. The air is warm and smells of blooming night flowers. In the center of this garden, there is a wall. This wall is made of every I owe, every I can't pay, and every I've lost. For years, you have been staring at this wall, thinking it was the end of your path. But tonight, you have the wand. Look at that wall of debt and lack. Do not hate it. Do not fear it. Simply look at it and realize it is made of nothing but your own old words. It has no power except the power you gave it. Speak to the wall in the quiet of your soul. I forgive the past. I forgive myself. I forgive the money. I release you into the nothingness from which you came. You are dissolved, for I now stand under grace and not under the law of reap and sow. Watch as the stones of that wall begin to turn into white mist. See them thinning, drifting away, until the path ahead is clear. Behind that wall is your divine design, the life of opulence that was prepared for you before you were even born. Infinite Spirit is never too late. There is no such thing as a limited supply. There is only a limited vision. If you can see the way, it is a human way. But if you can trust the invisible, it is the divine way. As you move toward the threshold of deep sleep, your mind is becoming a sanctuary of jubilee. We are erasing the old records. The red ink of the past is being washed away by the golden light of forgiveness. You are no longer paying for the past. You are investing in the present. I give thanks for my immediate and permanent release from all financial bondage. I am free to have. I am free to hold. I am free to be a channel for the great abundance. The walls of lack now fall before my shout of praise. I see my good clearly. I expect my good daily. I receive my good joyfully. Every bill that reaches me is a sign of my supply. I bless it as it goes out, knowing it returns to me multiplied. I have no fear, for I am divinely protected and provided for. I am the master of my wand. I speak only of my success. I think only of my plenty. I am a match for the wealth of the king. Under grace, in a perfect way, my ships come in over a calm sea. I have plenty and to spare. I am free from the past. Every debt is dissolved in the invisible. I stand under grace. My supply is immediate and permanent. I walk on the golden path of my divine design. My word is my wand, and it creates a highway of wealth. I am divinely guided to my perfect work for the perfect pay in a perfect way under grace. Now, let the rhythm of these truths become the beat of your own heart. You are not trying to get out of debt. You are being the person who is already free. The Jubilee is not coming, it is here. The ledger is clean, the wall is mist. Rest in the knowing. Divine supply is already prepared for me. My word has gone forth, and it cannot return void. I rest in the certainty of the infinite. My good cannot be withheld from me. Infinite Spirit now opens the way. I am a non-resistant being. I allow my greater good to unfold, under grace and in a perfect way. Everything I touch prospers. Everything I do succeeds. My supply is logical, certain, and unfailing. I do not ask how the sun rises. I simply expect the light. I am in the rhythm of the divine success. It is finished. It is done. It is manifest. As you sink further into the arms of sleep, realize that your subconscious mind is currently cashing the golden checks of your decrees. There is no clearing period in the divine mind. There is no delay in the fourth dimension. The moment you spoke the word of forgiveness, the energy of the debt was neutralized. You are now a debt-free being. Tomorrow, you will move through the world with the lightness of one whose accounts are settled in full. You will not look at your finances with a trembling heart. You will look at them with the smile of the victor. You will realize that the red ink was only a nightmare, and you have finally woken up. I am free. I am opulent. I am successful. My word is the law of my life, and my life is gold. It is finished. It is done. It is so. Imagine for a moment that you have been wearing a heavy, weathered mask for so long that you have forgotten the face that lies beneath it. This mask was not of your own making. It was crafted from the whispers of those who came before you, the warnings of the cautious, and the limited expectations of a world that fears the very overflow you seek. Tonight, in this quiet sanctuary of sleep, we are going to gently unfasten the straps of that mask. We are moving into a space of radical self-reclamation. Florence Scovel Shinn taught a truth that serves as the foundation for every miracle. She said, "You must change your name in the invisible." She understood that the universe does not respond to who you pretend to be in the light of day. It responds to who you believe you are in the deepest, most silent part of your soul. For much of your life, you may have been answering to names that were never meant for you. Perhaps your name in the invisible has been the one who struggles, or the heir to debt, or the individual for whom nothing ever quite works out. These are not your true names. They are merely the false identities you have accepted out of habit. Because the law of the Spirit is exact and non-judgmental, the universe has simply been calling you by the names you provided. If you call yourself passed over, the opportunities will continue to pass you by. If you call yourself broke, the gold of the universe will remain invisible to your eyes. Tonight we are entering the alchemical chamber to melt down these false labels and forge an identity of pure, radiant success. Consider the story of an individual named Silas. Silas was a person of profound talent, a master of design who could see the hidden elegance in raw wood and cold stone. But Silas lived in a state of perpetual grayness. He resided in a workshop that smelled of sawdust and unfulfilled dreams. Every morning, he would wake up to the sound of the wind rattling his windows, and his first thought was always a calculation of his lack. He came from a long line of individuals who believed that hard labor was the only holy way to live, and that ease was a dangerous illusion. Silas's father had worked until his hands were gnarled and his spirit was brittle, and Silas felt a subconscious loyalty to that same struggle. In his heart, his name was the man who must fight for every penny. Silas's life was a perfect mirror of that name. Whenever he was close to a breakthrough, something would intervene. A client would vanish, a tool would break, or an unexpected tax would arrive to sweep away his small savings. He was caught in what we call a thermostat of lack. Every time his life began to feel warm with prosperity, his subconscious mind, acting as a misguided protector, would find a way to cool things back down to the freezing point of his family history. He was waving a wand of limitation over his own hands, decreeing that his talent was worth only crumbs. When Silas encountered the law, he was given a challenge that felt like a surgical strike to his spirit. He was told, "You are not a craftsman who happens to be poor. You are a wealthy being who is currently having a bad dream. You have forgotten your royal lineage. You must walk into the alchemical chamber and dissolve the struggle out of your name." Silas was desperate enough to let go of his pride. He began a practice of spiritual renaming. He realized that to change his life, he had to change his self-concept before a single dollar ever appeared. He began to move differently. He noticed that the wealthy do not rush in a panic. They move with the poise of the infinite. He began to speak to his tools as if they were made of gold. He looked at his small, cold workshop and said, "I thank the Spirit for this laboratory of the miraculous. This is no longer the place of my struggle. This is the birthplace of my millions." Every morning, he would sit in the silence and say, "I am Silas, the wealthy. I am the child of the king. My supply is inexhaustible." At first, his logic mocked him, pointing to the dust on his floor. But he stayed in the knowing. He realized that the visible world is simply the last stage of a process that begins in the unseen. Within 3 months, Silas was approached by a global firm to design the interior of a great cathedral. The contract was a divine rebate for all the years he had spent in the dark. He had finally reset his internal thermostat to the frequency of opulence. As you drift into the deeper layers of this hour, I want you to visualize this alchemical chamber within your own mind. It is a room filled with a soft, pulsing violet light, the light of transformation. In the center of this chamber stands a great golden vessel, ancient and radiant. This is the vessel of the self. See yourself stepping toward it now. You are carrying a heavy gray bundle. This bundle contains every label the world has ever pinned to you. It contains the label of unlucky, the label of second best, and the label of always in debt. It contains the memories of every time you were told you weren't good enough, or that your dreams were too big for someone of your background. Feel the weight of these labels. Feel how they have tired your shoulders and slowed your walk. These labels are made of lead, heavy, cold, and dead. One by one, drop them into the golden vessel. Watch as the violet light begins to dissolve them. See the stories of not enough turning into liquid and then vanishing into vapor. See the old version of you, the one who feared the mailbox and winced at the price tag. See that person dissolving. That version of you was never the truth. It was only a reflection in a cracked mirror. Now, from the liquid gold of the vessel, a new identity is rising. This is your divine design. This is the version of you that the infinite spirit intended before the foundation of the world. This version of you does not know the meaning of the word impossible. This version of you is a perfect, effortless match for the wealth of the universe. Step into this new self now. Feel the warmth of the gold merging with your skin. Feel your spine straightening and your heart opening wide. You are being spiritually renamed in the silence of this night. Your name is no longer the seeker. Your name is the one who has. But the alchemical chamber has a deeper level, the ancestral reset. We often carry the financial patterns of our forefathers as if they were our own DNA. If your parents feared the winter, or your grandparents lost everything in a crash, those vibrations can linger in your subconscious like a ghost. Tonight, we are performing an act of divine disconnection. Visualize your ancestors standing behind you, in a long, shadowed line. They are hardworking, but many of them were tired and afraid. They are trying to pass you their heavy bags of worry, believing it is their duty to prepare you for a hard life. Turn to them now with a heart full of love, but a voice full of authority. Say to them in the silence, I bless you for my life. I thank you for your strength. But I now return your lack to the nothingness from which it came. I am no longer a carrier of your fear. I am the one who breaks the cycle. I am the one who establishes the gold standard for our lineage. The poverty line ends at my feet. The wealth line begins with my breath. Watch as they begin to fade into the light, smiling, for they truly desire your freedom. You are now the sovereign editor of your own history. You are being filled with the divine standard of living. This is the realization that the infinite spirit does not ration its gifts. God does not give you a portion of prosperity. The spirit gives all of itself to all of its creation. You are meant to live lavishly because you are the child of an extravagant creator. You must stop asking for enough to get by. To ask for just enough is to insult the source. Tonight we are throwing away the thimble and bringing a great golden vessel to the shore of the infinite. We are decreeing not just supply, but overflow. We are decreeing that we have plenty and to spare, with enough left over to bless the entire world. I am wealthy. Wealth is my natural state. I am success. Success is my identity. I am free. Freedom is my reality. Infinite Spirit, I give thanks for my new name. I've stepped out of the rags of lack and into the robes of abundance. I am no longer the name the world gave me. I am the name that thou hast given me, success. My word is my wand, and it decrees my new nature. I am wealthy. I am opulent. I am divinely provided for, now and forever. I cast the old self into the fire of forgiveness. It is gone. It is nothingness. I am a new creature in the divine mind. I no longer look at the world through the eyes of lack. I look through the eyes of the Spirit. Where I once saw a desert, I now see an oasis. Where I once saw a wall, I now see a door. Where I once saw a debt, I now see a dividend. I am the master of my perception, and my perception is prosperity. I see my good clearly. I expect my good daily. I receive my good joyfully. I am a match for the extravagance of the universe. My bank account is a mirror of my mind, and my mind is rich. My home is a mirror of my heart, and my heart is full. My life is a mirror of my word, and my word is gold. Under grace and in a perfect way. It is finished. It is manifest. It is mine. As the rhythm of the night carries you deeper, let the alchemical chamber complete its work. Every cell of your body is being washed in the violet light of transformation. The gray lead of your old identity is now a pool of liquid gold. You are being recast in the mold of success. When you wake tomorrow, you will not even remember the person who used to worry. You will not recognize the voice that said, I can't. You will wake with the poise of an individual who owns the world and everything in it. I am success. I am gold. I am light. I am home. Infinite Spirit, I give thanks for the millions of dollars that are mine by divine right. They now reach me under grace and in a perfect way. I am no longer blocked. I am the flow. Every bill is a sign of my abundance. I pay it with joy, knowing that the money I release returns to me 1,000-fold. I am a channel for the divine circulation. I am divinely guided to my perfect work for the perfect pay in a perfect way under grace. I am the wealthy one. I am the successful one. I am the free one. I am the child of the King. I am the heir to the kingdom. I am one with the source. I am one with the gold. I am one with the light. It is finished. It is manifest. It is mine. The path is open. The way is clear. The gold is here. I rest in the certainty of the law. I sleep in the peace of the opulent. I wake in the joy of the manifest. Wealth belongs to me. Success follows me. Grace covers me. I am enough. I have enough. I am more than enough. Space for deep, quiet breathing. The mask is gone. The face of success is revealed. The alchemical chamber is sealed in light. Sleep now, in the absolute knowing. Your new name is written in the stars, and your harvest is appearing in the sun. Under grace and in a perfect way. It is done. It is done. It is done. The air around you is changing, becoming heavy with the scent of salt and the shimmering promise of a vast golden horizon. You have left the walls of the alchemical chamber behind, and you are now standing on the shore of the most magnificent reality you have ever encountered. This is the ocean of opulence. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that divine substance is the only true reality. She understood with a rare mystical clarity that the world of form, the paper money in your hand, the numbers glowing on a screen, the solid bricks of your home, is simply a temporary condensation of an invisible, infinite energy. She called this energy supply, and she reminded us over and over again that there is no scarcity in the divine mind. Scarcity is not a fact of the universe. It is a trick of the human eye. It is a mirage in the desert of the ego. For years, you've been taught to look at the world as a place of fierce competition, as a table where the seats are limited and the food is rapidly running out. But tonight, as you float in the great silence, we are dissolving that mirage completely. We are realizing that you do not live in a world of not enough. You live in a world of extravagant overflow. Think of your life as a vessel, floating on this golden ocean. For years, you may have been convinced that the ocean was drying up. You have been looking at the horizon with a trembling heart, fearing that the tide would go out and never return. Because of this fear, you've been rationing your joy. You've been hoarding your peace. You've been living a fractional life, only allowing yourself to breathe halfway because you believed the source was limited. But here's the truth that sets the soul on fire. The ocean of the infinite does not have a bottom. It does not have a shore that marks its end. It is a plenitude that expands the more you draw from it. In the kingdom of the spirit, the laws of physics are beautifully reversed. The more you use, the more there is. The more you give, the more you have. Consider the story of an individual named Dorian. Dorian was a person of great ambition who had built a successful business from the ground up. But Dorian was a worshiper of channels. He believed that his wealth came from one specific contract with one specific client. He treated this client like a god. He lived in constant, quiet terror of displeasing them, fearing that if this one single channel closed, his entire life would collapse into ruin. Dorian was wealthy in form, but he was a beggar in spirit. He was tied to a channel consciousness. Predictably, the law of the spirit moved to teach Dorian a lesson. For the universe will always shatter the false idols we build out of our fear. The client suddenly went bankrupt, and Dorian's primary source of income vanished overnight. Dorian was devastated. He spent weeks in the beta noise of panic. He paced the floors of his home, calling lawyers, checking the news, and speaking words of absolute ruin. He saw only a desert where there was once an oasis. He was looking at the empty channel and weeping, completely blind to the full ocean resting right behind him. When Dorian finally encountered the teachings of the spoken word, he was told a truth that shocked him into stillness. He was told, "You have lost a channel, but you cannot lose your source. The infinite spirit has 10,000 channels for every one that closes. You are acting as if the entire ocean has dried up simply because one tiny pipe has become clogged. Open your eyes. Speak to the source." Dorian was exhausted from his panic, and so he surrendered. He began a practice of sacred indifference. Every morning, he would visualize the closed door of his old business, and instead of cursing it, he would bless it. He would say, "I thank you for being a channel for as long as you were. I release you with love. I now turn my face to the source. Infinite Spirit, I give thanks for my immediate and permanent supply from thee. Thou art my paymaster. Thou art my bank. I do not care which way the money comes. I only care that it comes from thee, under grace, and in a perfect way." For 21 days, Dorian stood in the darkness of the soil. He saw no new clients. He received no checks. The physical world looked entirely empty. But Dorian was no longer reporting on the desert. He was decreeing the flood. He walked through the city with the relaxed poise of a person who owned the streets. On the 22nd day, he received a phone call from an individual he had met briefly at a conference 3 years prior. This person was starting a massive global initiative and needed exactly Dorian's expertise. The new contract was 10 times the size of the old one, and it came with infinitely more freedom. Dorian realized that the first channel had to close to make room for the great stream. He had learned the ultimate lesson of wealth. The supply is not out there in the economy. The supply is in here, in the absolute, unwavering connection to the infinite. As you lie here, listening to the gentle rhythm of your own breath, I want you to perform a sinking into the source. Imagine yourself floating in this warm, luminous water of the golden ocean. This is the water of life. This is the water of wealth. Feel it pressing against your skin, incredibly supportive and heavy with potential. In this ocean, there is no lack. Can you imagine a fish in the middle of the deep sea worrying that it will run out of water? Can you imagine a bird soaring in the open sky worrying that it will run out of air? To do so would be a cosmic joke, and yet man worries that he will run out of supply. Tonight, realize the absurdity of your fear. You are a spiritual being in a spiritual universe. Money is just condensed spirit. There is as much of it as you can speak into existence. Listen closely, beloved, for this is the key to the ocean. You must stop looking at the channels and start looking at the source. A channel is your employer. A channel is your business. A channel is a gift, a partner, or an inheritance. These are beautiful things, but they are not the source. If you worship the channel, you live in perpetual fear of losing it. If you worship the source, you live in absolute peace. If one pipe breaks, the infinite spirit simply lays another. If one door is locked, the Spirit removes the entire wall. Tonight, you are divorcing the channel and marrying the source. You are making your eternal covenant with the infinite Spirit. You are declaring to the universe, I do not care which door opens. I do not care whose name is on the check. I only care that I am one with the source. And the source is always, eternally flowing. Visualize now a great golden pipe connected directly to your heart, stretching out into the infinite glowing horizon. This pipe is wide, clear, and indestructible. It is not dependent on the government, the stock market, or the shifting opinions of the world. It is a direct line to the treasury of the King. As you breathe, feel the divine substance moving through this pipe. It is thick, warm, and bright. It is the spiritual gold that is ready to become whatever you need: rent, travel, tools, luxury, or profound peace of mind. Every inhale you take is a withdrawal from the bank of the universe. Every exhale is a blessing placed upon your own success. I give thanks for my immediate and permanent connection to thy inexhaustible storehouse. I am no longer a person with a limited income. I am an inlet for the entire ocean of abundance. I release all fear of spending, for I know the more I release, the more I open the valve for the inflow. I am a non-resistant being. I let the gold flow out with a blessing, and I watch as it returns as an avalanche of prosperity. I am divinely guided to the right uses of my wealth. I am a wise steward of the King's gold. My hand is open. My heart is open. My life is full. I sit at the banquet table, and I am deeply satisfied. My cup runneth over. Now, let us speak of the alchemy of the surplus. Florence taught that you should always carry a surplus in your mind. If you are always thinking of just enough to scrape by, you are decreeing a life of barely surviving. You are clipping the wings of your own manifestation. The infinite spirit is the spirit of extravagance. Look at the leaves on a single oak tree. There are far more than the tree needs to live. Look at the colors of a single sunset, far more brilliant than is necessary to simply mark the end of the day. The spirit is opulent. Tonight, you are decreeing your divine surplus. You are no longer asking for enough to pay the bills. You are decreeing a massive, overflowing surplus that allows you to give lavishly, live comfortably, and sleep deeply, without a single calculation of fear. You are claiming the more that belongs to you by divine right. I give thanks for my divine surplus. I have plenty and to spare. I have enough to bless my family, enough to bless my community, and enough to live a life of total, unrestricted freedom. My bank account is a fountain, not a stagnant pool. It is always moving, always growing, and always full. The old story of not enough is now a ghost that has been laid to rest. I walk in the light of more than enough. I spend money with joy, knowing that I am simply participating in the divine circulation. I am a channel for the infinite, and the infinite never runs dry. As you move deeper into the night, the sound of the ocean is washing away the last lingering traces of your poverty consciousness. The salt of the spiritual water is neutralizing the karma of your old, fearful words. You are being completely cleaned of the belief in shortage. You are realizing that the only thing that ever kept you from the gold was the lid you placed on your own vessel. Tonight we have thrown away the lid. We have brought a vast, open container to the shore. The tide is coming in. It is high tide in your financial life. It is high tide in your soul. Your ships are safely navigating into the harbor. Your storehouses are full to bursting. Your heart is perfectly at peace. You are not a person who tries to find wealth. You are the shore that wealth is rushing to meet. You are the destination. You are the magnet. You are the air. The ocean of opulence is not something you travel to. It is something that flows out of you. Wealth belongs to you. It is already moving toward you. You can rest now. Every wave that hits the shore is a message from the infinite. It says, yes. It says, yours. It says, now. You do not need to wait for the moon to move the water. Your word has already moved the universe. The gold is manifest. The supply is certain. The victory is won, under grace and in a perfect way. You can rest now, for the ocean does not sleep. While you rest, the tides are bringing your good directly to your door. While you dream, the divine substance is taking physical form. While you breathe, the gold is multiplying. You are safe. You are provided for. You are richly blessed. Everything you desire is currently floating on the surface of your own consciousness, waiting for you to simply allow it to arrive. You do not even need to reach. You simply need to remain open. Be the harbor. Be the open gate. Be the welcoming heart. The ocean knows your name, and it is delivering your inheritance now. I rest in the certainty of divine supply. My good is already prepared for me. The channels are open. The source is pouring out its blessing. I'm safe in the arms of the infinite. My life is opening to the extraordinary. There is nothing to chase, only allow, only receive, under grace and in a perfect way. It is finished. It is done. It is manifest. The world around you has grown very still, but within the silence, the physics of the miraculous are in full operation. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that your word is not just a passing sound. It is a heavy, magnetic vibration that acts directly upon the formless substance of the universe. She understood that the world is like a giant, sensitive plate, and your words are the needles that etch the permanent patterns of your reality into that plate. Most people speak as if their words are hollow, as if they vanish into the air the moment they leave the lips. But tonight, you are realizing that your words are the primary tools of your sovereignty. They are the scepters of your command. To understand the magnetism of the spoken word, you must visualize the universe not as a collection of solid, unchangeable objects, but as a vast, shimmering ocean of energy. Everything you see, the numbers in a bank account, the walls of a beautiful home, the ink on a signed contract, is simply energy vibrating at a specific frequency. When you speak, you are releasing a specific frequency from the secret laboratory of your throat. If you speak of lack, you are releasing a heavy, low vibration that can only bond with circumstances of lack. But when you speak with the authority of the King, you release a high, golden frequency that literally pulls wealth out of the invisible and forces it to take form in your physical world. This is why Florence insisted on the direct command. She knew that the universe does not respond to the hesitant wish of a beggar, but it must obey the decree of the master. Think of a captain on a great ship. The captain does not ask the engines if they would like to turn. The captain commands them. The captain does not hope the rudder moves. The captain speaks the course into being. You are the captain of your financial ship, and your word is the command that moves the vast machinery of the infinite spirit. Consider the story of an individual named Ilara. Ilara was a person of immense creative power, a musician who could weave melodies that brought a sense of peace and wonder to all who heard them. But Ilara lived in a state of spiritual muteness. Whenever the topic of money arose, Ilara's voice would become small and faltering. Ilara felt that art was sacred and that money was common, speaking as if the two could never occupy the same room. Ilara frequently told friends, "I am a starving artist, but at least my work is pure." By speaking the words starving artist, Ilara was waving a wand of famine over a great talent. Ilara was commanding the universe to keep the purse empty as a price for creativity. Ilara's life was a perfect reflection of this muteness. Performances were held in drafty, forgotten halls for a pittance. Ilara lived in a room where the windows rattled in the winter wind and spent the nights counting meager coins, which only served to confirm the internal story of struggle. Ilara was powerful, but that power was being used to weave a shroud of poverty around a brilliant life. When Ilara finally encountered the law of the word, the realization was a shock to the system. Ilara was told, "You are not an artist who happens to be poor. You are a master of vibration who has been singing a song of lack. If you want a new life, you must sing a new song. You must command the gold to serve the music." Ilara began a practice of vibrational realignment. Realizing that the throat was the seat of the command, Ilara began every morning by striking a deep, resonant chord on the piano, the frequency of the earth itself, and speaking over the sound. Ilara did not whisper. The words were spoken with the resonance of a visionary. The decree was, "Infinite Spirit, I give thanks that my music is now a channel for thy great opulence. I command the wealth of the world to flow to me in exchange for the beauty I give. I am no longer a starving artist. I am a prosperous visionary. My supply is immediate, permanent, and lavish." At first, the old self felt like a liar. The cold draft from the windows seemed to mock the words. But Ilara knew about the testing of the faith. Ilara knew that the sound wave must travel through the invisible before it hits the ear of the world. Ilara kept speaking. Ilara began to speak to bills as if they were fan mail. Ilara began to speak to instruments as if they were carved from solid gold. The reporting on the starving artist ended, and the decreeing of the master of success began. The shift arrived with the suddenness of a lightning bolt. A filmmaker who had attended one of Ilara's small performances months earlier reached out. He hadn't just liked the music, he had been haunted by it. He was working on a global project and wanted Ilara to compose the entire score. The budget for the music alone was more than Ilara had earned in an entire lifetime. When the contract was signed, Ilara didn't feel surprised. A sense of finished victory had already been established. Ilara had already heard the sound of the contract in those morning decrees. The atoms of reality had simply rearranged themselves to obey the master's voice. As you lie here, I want you to enter the laboratory of the word within yourself. Visualize your own throat as a center of golden light. This is where your wand is stored. Every time you speak, you are sending out a search party into the universe to bring back the things that match your sound. If you have been sending out search parties for debt, unemployment, and struggle, call them back now. Dismiss them from your service. In the silence of your mind, say to those old words, "You are relieved of your duty. I no longer require your presence in my world. I dissolve you into the nothingness from which you came." Now, send out a new search party. Send out the vibrations of overflow. Send out the frequencies of unexpected windfalls. Send out the sounds of doors swinging wide. Speak to the divine substance now, not with a question, but with a decree. Infinite Spirit, I give thanks for my immediate and permanent prosperity. I command the gold of the universe to manifest in my life now, under grace, and in a perfect way. I am a match for the opulence of the King. I sit at the banquet table, and my cup runneth over. Feel the weight of those words. Feel the magnetism they create in your chest. You are no longer an individual looking for money. You are a center of power, whose very voice pulls money out of the atmosphere. You are like a radio tower, and you have just switched your broadcast from the station of lack to the station of wealth. Let us go deeper into what Florence called the square deific. She taught that for manifestation to be complete, it must satisfy 4 departments of life: health, wealth, love, and perfect self-expression. Most people only focus on the money, but if you have wealth without health or money without love, your mansion is built on sand. Tonight we are squaring your life. We are using the magnetism of your word to pull all 4 corners of your divine design into the light of day. Infinite Spirit, I give thanks for my perfect life under grace. I command my wealth to be manifest in avalanches of abundance. I command my health to be radiant and tireless. I command my love to be deep, harmonious, and true. I command my perfect self-expression to be revealed and rewarded. I am now living the life that was designed for me before the world began. Think of the metaphysics of the bank. In the physical world, you go to a building of stone and glass to withdraw your funds. But in the spiritual world, your bank is your own consciousness. Your words are the checks you write against the infinite credit of the Spirit. If you write a check for struggle, the Bank of the Universe must honor it. If you write a check for $10,000, the bank must honor that too. The only reason your spiritual account ever appears empty is because you haven't been writing the checks. You've been standing in front of the teller, complaining about the difficulty of the journey. Tonight, you are writing a series of golden checks. As you drift into the deeper states of rest, imagine yourself signing your name to these decrees. See the ink shining on the paper of your mind. I write a check for my permanent financial freedom. I write a check for the home of my dreams. I write a check for the millions that are mine by divine right. I write a check for the peace that passeth all understanding. Infinite Spirit, I give thanks that my checks are now being cashed in the invisible. I am no longer waiting for a clearing period. My supply is immediate. My supply is permanent. I am the owner of the bank. Now, let us speak of the testing of the word. Florence warned that after you speak your word, the old world will often try to test your conviction. A bill might arrive tomorrow. A client might say no one last time. This is not a sign that the law is failing. It is a sign that the old energy is being pushed out by the new. It is the darkness that naturally precedes the dawn. When the test comes, you must use your wand with even greater steadiness. You must look at the appearance of lack and say, "None of these things move me. I have spoken the word, and the word is law. I stand still and see the salvation of the Spirit." If you do not waver, the shadow must vanish. The atoms of your reality have already begun to move. The visible world is simply a few steps behind. You are like a person who has turned on the light in a large room. It takes a moment for the light to reach the corners, but the darkness is already defeated. As you move deeper into the silence of the night, your words are becoming living creatures. Florence said, that your words are your children. They go out into the world to do your bidding. Tonight, you have given birth to a family of giants. You have sent out words of such power and such gold that they are currently tearing down the walls of your limitation. They are building bridges where there were once chasms. They are opening vaults that were rusted shut for decades. I am the master of my children. I speak only words of life. I speak only words of plenty. I speak only words of victory. I am wealthy because I say I am wealthy. I am successful because I say I am successful. I am free because I say I am free. My word is settled in heaven, and it is now manifest on earth. Visualize a golden scepter in your hand. This is the symbol of your authority over your own supply. With this scepter, you touch every area of your life. You touch your bank account, and you see it glowing with the light of increase. You touch your debts, and you see them turning into white mist and drifting away. You touch your workplace, and you see it becoming a temple of opportunity and reward. You are no longer a victim of the economy. You are the legislator of your own opulence. You are making the laws of your life. You are decreeing that from this moment on, only good can find you. Only wealth can reach you. Only peace can dwell with you. Infinite Spirit, I give thanks for my sovereign power. I have stepped out of the crowd of the fearful and into the council of the wise. I am no longer looking to the world for my cues. I am looking to the Spirit. I am the commander of my days and the master of my nights. Wealth belongs to you. It is already moving toward you. You can rest now. Your life is opening to the extraordinary. There's nothing to chase. Only allow. Only receive. Under grace and in a perfect way. It is finished. It is done. It is manifest. Listen closely, beloved, for we now enter the sacred pulse of the universe, the law of divine circulation. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that money is not a static object to be hoarded behind the walls of fear, but a spiritual energy meant to move. She understood that many seekers find themselves blocked not because they lack talent or effort, but because they have a clenched fist consciousness. You must realize that you cannot receive a new gift with a hand that is tightly closed around what it already possesses. To receive the overflow, you must be willing to release the trickle. You must learn to open your hand, to release with love, and to breathe in perfect harmony with the infinite Spirit. To inhale is to receive. To exhale is to give. If you try to hold your breath, you lose your life. If you try to hold your money in fear, you lose your supply. Tonight, we are transforming your spirit into a wide-open channel for the divine circulation. Think of your financial life as a great irrigation system designed by the infinite. For years, you may have been living in a state of stagnant scarcity. You have been afraid to pay your bills. You have been resentful of your expenses. You have been looking at every dollar that leaves your hand as a tragic loss, a piece of yourself that you will never see again. This attitude creates a dam of doubt in your subconscious mind. It tells the universe that you do not trust the source to provide more. It signals that you believe the well of the Spirit has run dry. But the law of circulation states that whatever you release with a blessing must return to you multiplied. If you send money out with a scowl of fear, it returns as a shadow of lack. But if you send it out with a song of gratitude, it returns as an avalanche of abundance. Tonight, we are breaking that dam. We are letting the water of wealth rush through every dry valley of your existence. Consider the story of an individual named Soren. Soren was a person of great vision who owned a small, specialized bookshop, a sanctuary of knowledge and art. But Soren was living in the grip of financial contraction. The shop was quiet. The bell above the door rarely rang. Every month, when the rent notice arrived, Soren's heart would tighten like a knot. He would stare at the utility bills with a sense of deep bitterness, feeling as though these companies were predators trying to steal his meager earnings. He would wait until the final warning to pay, clutching the money until the very last second. Soren believed that money was a finite resource that was slowly disappearing from his life. Consequently, his income reflected his fear. No new customers arrived. No rare finds were sold. Soren was a master of the tension of the purse, and his business was suffocating in the vacuum of his own resistance. When Soren encountered the law of circulation, the teaching felt like a bucket of cold water to his soul. He was told, "You are acting as if the infinite spirit is bankrupt. Every time you resent your rent, you are cursing the roof over your head. Every time you hate your bills, you are mocking the very services that allow you to do your work. You must learn to bless the outflow so the inflow can find a way in." Soren began a radical practice called the ritual of the blessing. Every time Soren wrote a check or paid a tax, he would hold the paper in his hands and feel the warmth of gratitude. He would say, "I bless this money as it goes forth to bless the world. I thank the Spirit for the space to work and the light to see. This money now returns to me 1,000-fold, under grace and in a perfect way." At first, Soren felt a wave of doubt. His logic told him that blessing a bill didn't change the numbers in the bank. But Soren persisted. He even began to bless the customers who walked in and bought nothing, realizing that they too were a part of the circulation of energy. Within 3 weeks, the atmosphere of the shop shifted. A collector from another city discovered Soren's shop online and purchased his entire inventory of rare first editions in a single transaction. The payment was enough to cover Soren's expenses for a year. But the real miracle was the divine rebate. Soren realized that by opening his hand to give, he had finally made his hand empty enough to receive the treasures of the kingdom. Soren stopped being a storekeeper and became a channel of supply. As you lie here, drifting toward the deepest chambers of your mind, I want you to perform your own act of circulation. Visualize the expenses you have been fearing. See the bills, the debts, and the upcoming costs of your life. Do not look at them with the eyes of a victim. Look at them as vessels of flow. Speak to the money as it leaves you. I bless you. I thank you for the service you have provided. I release you with joy and absolute love. I know that I am a channel for the infinite supply, and the source is right behind me. As you leave my hand, you open a doorway for 10 times more to reach me now. I am in the rhythm of the divine success. I am the flow. I am the increase. Feel the tension leaving your solar plexus. Feel the contraction of your spirit dissolving into a vast expansion. You are no longer a person who loses money. You are a person who circulates the substance of God. The law of giving and receiving is a single, unbroken movement. To give is to receive. To receive is to give. You are now a part of the great golden wheel of the universe. The more you bless the world with your resources, the more the universe is legally bound to bless you with hers. Now, let us speak of the metaphysics of the divine rebate. Florence taught that the universe keeps a perfect ledger. When you give to the Spirit, whether through a gift, a service, or simply by paying your obligations with a heart of praise, you are creating a spiritual credit. This credit does not sit idle. It gathers the interest of the infinite. It moves through the fourth dimension to find the perfect way to return to you. It might return as a new client, a sudden idea, an inheritance, or a rebate from a source you had completely forgotten. The divine rebate is the universe's way of saying, because you trusted me with a little, I now trust you with a lot. There is a moment in the stillness of the night, a quiet hour where the boundary between your world and the world of the Spirit becomes thin. If you should find yourself awake in this hour, do not use it to build a monument to your worries. Do not use it to count the days until your next struggle. Instead, you will use the midnight decree. You will speak directly to the silence, and the silence will answer with gold. You will whisper, money flows to me now. My supply is immediate. I am a match for the gold of the king. You will repeat this until the words are no longer sounds, but a vibration that lulls you back into the arms of the infinite. This practice tells your subconscious that your wealth is a 24-hour reality. It decrees that even while you sleep, the law of opulence is working, moving, and manifesting on your behalf. I give thanks for my immediate and permanent connection to thy inexhaustible storehouse. I release all fear of spending. I release all guilt about having. I release all resentment toward the cost of existence. I am a non-resistant being. I let the gold flow out with a blessing, and I watch as it returns as a flood of prosperity. I am divinely guided to the right uses of my wealth. My hand is open. My heart is open. My vault is open. I am a match for the extravagance of the infinite. Everything I touch prospers. Everything I do succeeds. My supply is logical, certain, and unfailing. I do not ask how the sun rises. I simply expect the light. I am in the rhythm of the divine success. I am in the flow of the divine circulation. I am the wealthy one. I am the prosperous one. I am the free one. Wealth belongs to you. It is already moving toward you. You can rest now. Your life is opening to the extraordinary. There is nothing to chase. Only allow. Only receive. Under grace and in a perfect way. It is finished. It is done. It is manifest. Listen closely, beloved, for we have reached the deepest chamber of the night, the space where the soul enters the fourth dimension. Florence Scovel Shinn was a master of this invisible realm. She taught that the world we see with our eyes, the world of 3 dimensions, is merely a faint pencil sketch of a much larger, more brilliant, and more permanent reality. In the 3-dimensional world, we see walls that block us, we see limits that bind us, and we see empty pockets that frighten us. But in the 4th dimension, the realm of the Spirit, there is no such thing as empty. There is only substance, a shimmering, luminous energy that is ready to take any shape your word commands. Tonight, as you float in the great silence, your senses are being retuned. You are learning the alchemy of the senses, the rare ability to see, hear, and feel your wealth before it ever touches the physical earth. Think of the air that surrounds you right now. To the physical eye, it looks like a void, a space of nothingness. But the scientist knows it is full of power, full of invisible signals and full of the very oxygen that sustains your life. The spiritual master goes further. They know the air is full of supply. Florence understood that your supply is not coming to you from across the ocean or through a distant door. It is already here, pressing against you, waiting for you to simply recognize its presence. Most people fail to manifest because they rely entirely on their physical senses to tell them what is true. They look at a bank balance and say, "I am poor," and the fourth dimension responds by freezing that poverty into form. But the awakened self looks through the shadow. The awakened self uses spiritual sight to see the gold in the very atmosphere, spiritual hearing to hear the sound of the harvest, and spiritual touch to feel the weight of the scepter. Consider the story of an individual named Mara. Mara was the steward of an ancient family estate, a place of immense history, towering oak trees, and a legacy of grace that had, over decades, fallen into deep disrepair. The gardens where children once played were overgrown with jagged thorns. The roof let in the weeping rain, and the taxes had not been paid in many years. Mara lived in a state of constant, grinding terror. Every time the post arrived, Mara feared it was the final notice, the decree that the gates would be locked and the heritage lost to the winds of debt forever. Mara's physical senses reported nothing but ruin. Mara saw the dust motes dancing in the cold light, smelled the damp of the cellar, and heard only the hollow silence of a house that was dying. Logic said the situation was impossible. Logic said that a person with no visible income could not possibly save a crumbling mansion. But when Mara encountered the law of the word, the shift began not in the garden, but in the fourth dimension. Mara was told, "You are looking at the shadow of your own old words. You must stop seeing the thorns and start seeing the roses. You must stop hearing the silence and start hearing the laughter of the guests at the banquet. You must act as if the estate is already restored by the hand of the king." Mara began a practice of sensory substitution. Every day, Mara would walk through the empty, freezing halls and perform a secret ritual of the spirit. Mara would reach out and touch a peeling, damp wall. But in the mind, Mara would feel the cool, smooth texture of fine silk wallpaper. Mara would look at the overgrown garden, and instead of seeing the gray of the thorns, Mara would see the vivid, defiant crimson of a prize-winning bloom. Most importantly, Mara practiced spiritual hearing. Before sleep, Mara would lie in the dark and listen. Instead of hearing the wind whistling through the cracks in the window, Mara would hear the sound of a pen scratching firmly against a heavy legal document, the sound of the taxes being paid in full. Mara would hear the rhythmic splash of the fountain in the courtyard being turned back on. Mara was hearing the finished victory. For months, the physical world mocked Mara. A lawyer called with a voice of stone to say the time was running out. But Mara did not waver. Mara said, "I do not recognize that report. I have heard the sound of my freedom, and my supply is logically provided for by the infinite spirit." The manifestation arrived through a perfect way that Mara could never have planned with 1,000 years of thinking. A global historical society discovered that a famous explorer had once hidden a collection of journals and lost maps within the walls of that very estate. The society offered Mara a massive, permanent grant to restore the house and turn it into a research center of world renown. The grant didn't just pay the taxes, it provided Mara with a lavish income as the lifetime director of the sanctuary. The thorns were cleared by workers paid by the spirit. The roof was mended. The fountain was turned on. Mara had seen the restoration in the invisible, and the visible had no choice but to follow. Mara had mastered the vision of the invisible. As you lie here, sinking into the velvet depths of the great silence, I want you to perform your own alchemy of the senses. Do not look for your wealth in the world tomorrow. See it now. In the sanctuary of your mind, I want you to hear your supply. Hear the clear, bright sound of the notification on your phone that tells you a massive deposit has been made. Hear the voice of a person you respect saying, "I am so moved by your incredible success." Hear the crisp crinkle of the bills in your hand. These sounds are real in the fourth dimension, and because they are real there, they are becoming solid here. Infinite Spirit, I give thanks for my spiritual sight. I no longer look at the appearance of things. I look at the reality of thy opulence. I see the gold in the invisible. I see the doors swinging wide in the mist. I see my life as a masterpiece of abundance. I am a match for the wealth of the King. I give thanks for my spiritual hearing. I hear the sound of my ships coming into the harbor. I hear the music of my success. I hear the great yes of the universe to every one of my decrees. I am no longer tuned to the frequency of lack. I am a receiving station for the broadcast of plenty. I give thanks for my spiritual touch. I feel the weight of my authority. I feel the texture of my luxury. I feel the ease of my freedom. I am not reaching for my good. I am embracing it. It is here. It is now. It is mine. Listen closely, beloved. For as you drift, you are shedding the very sense of lack. You are realizing that the only thing that ever stood between you and your millions was the false belief that they were somewhere else. But there is no elsewhere. There is only the eternal now. There is only the infinite. And the infinite is exactly where you are. You are an inlet for the entire ocean of divine substance. Every thought you think is a ripple on that ocean. Every word you speak is a wave that brings the gold to your shore. I am wealthy. My word is the law of the fourth dimension. It commands the formless to take form. It commands the shadow to become substance. I am the architect of my own environment. I am the master of my own fate. My income is not a static number. It is a living flow, and the flow is increasing every hour of every day. I cast the burden of how into the sea of nothingness. I do not need to know the path, for I am the path. I do not need to find the light, for I am the light. Every person I meet is a channel of my supply. Every idea I have is a fountain of my wealth. I am divinely guided, divinely guarded, and divinely enriched. Consider the metaphysics of the golden scepter. In the stories of old, the sovereign would hold a scepter to show their authority over the land. Tonight, you are holding the scepter of the spoken word. With this scepter, you are touching the cold places of your life. You touch your debts, and they spring into life as dividends. You touch your fears, and they transform into fierce faith. You touch your bank account, and it glows with the light of 1,000 suns. You are the sovereign of your own reality. Infinite Spirit, I give thanks for my sovereign power. I've stepped out of the ranks of the fearful and into the counsel of the wise. I'm no longer looking to the world for my instructions. I am looking to the Spirit. I am the commander of my supply. I am the owner of all that I see in the invisible. It is finished. It is done. It is manifest. As you move deeper into the silence, let the rhythm of the harvest take hold of your heart. You are a master gardener who has planted the seeds of gold. You do not worry about the winter, for you know the sun of the Spirit is always shining behind the clouds. You do not worry about the rain, for you know the grace of the infinite is always falling. You are at peace. You are poised. You are permanent. I am success. I am gold. I am light. I am home. My supply is immediate. My supply is permanent. My supply is inexhaustible. I walk on the golden path. I live in the golden light. I am the golden magnet. Infinite Spirit, I give thanks for the millions of dollars that are mine by divine right. They now reach me under grace and in a perfect way. I am no longer blocked by the boulders of fear. I am the flow itself. Every bill is a sign of my abundance. I pay it with joy, knowing that the money I release returns to me 1,000-fold. I am a channel for the divine circulation. I am wealthy in mind. I am wealthy in body. I am wealthy in spirit. I am wealthy in bank. I am wealthy in home. I am wealthy in life. I no longer answer to the voice of lack. I no longer recognize the face of poverty. I have graduated from the school of struggle, and I have entered the university of success. My degree is written in gold. My path is paved in light. I am a child of the infinite, and all that the Father has is mine. Imagine now that you are standing in a great hall of mirrors. But these are not ordinary mirrors. They do not reflect your physical body. They reflect your subconscious identity. For years, when you looked into these mirrors, you saw a person who was tired, a person who was worried, a person who was just getting by. But tonight, look again. The mirrors have been polished by the hand of the Spirit. In every mirror, you see a person of immense power. You see a person whose eyes shine with the certainty of wealth. You see a person who moves with the grace of one who has never known a no. You see a person who is surrounded by a golden aura of success. This is the true you. This is the divine design that was hidden behind the dust of your doubts. As you look at this image, you are merging with it. You are becoming the reflection. The reflection is becoming you. I am the wealthy one. I am the successful one. I am the free one. My bank account is a mirror of my mind, and my mind is rich. My home is a mirror of my heart, and my heart is full. My life is a mirror of my word, and my word is gold. I am a magnet for money. I am a magnet for miracles. I am a magnet for all that is mine by divine right. Everything I touch prospers. Everything I do succeeds. Every word I speak manifests. I am the master of my wand. I am the architect of my life. I am the channel for infinite supply. I am now in the divine workshop, and my life is being rewritten in letters of gold. It is finished. It is done. It is so. Listen closely, beloved, for the night is nearly complete. You have traveled far through the halls of your own being. You have faced the shadows, and you have turned them into light. You have taken the lead of your past, and you have forged it into the gold of your future. You are now a vibrational match for everything you have ever desired. The universe is even now rushing to fulfill your commands. The people you need to meet are waking up with a sudden idea to call you. The opportunities you need are being finalized in the invisible. The money you called forth is being directed toward your name. Infinite Spirit, I give thanks for the wealth that is now manifest. I give thanks for the abundance that is now visible. I give thanks for the peace that is now mine. I am opulent. I am abundant. I am free. My word is settled in heaven. It is manifest on earth. I have plenty and to spare. My cup runneth over. It is finished. It is done. It is so. Sleep now, beloved, on the bosom of the infinite. The work is done. The seeds are in the ground. The harvest is sure. Your word has gone forth, and it cannot return to me void. It must accomplish that which I please, and I please to be wealthy. You can rest now. Wealth belongs to you. It is already moving toward you. I am wealthy. I am opulent. I am successful. I am success. I am gold. I am light. I am home. Under grace and in a perfect way. It is finished. It is done. It is manifest. The work of the divine workshop is nearly complete, and the blueprint for your new reality has been fixed in the invisible. You are currently suspended in that miraculous window of total receptivity, a state where the mind is most capable of sealing a new identity. Throughout this journey, you've undergone a surgical realignment of your soul's relationship with supply. The version of you that began this journey, burdened by the heavy luggage of the past, has been entirely dissolved. You are now the new creation that stands under grace and not under the law of hard labor. As you continue to rest in this sacred space, you must understand how to protect and steward the gold you have minted tonight. In the physical world, an individual who finds a hidden treasure does not leave it unguarded in the street. They bring it home, they polish it, and they place it in a vault. Your treasure is your new wealth consciousness, and your morning ritual is the vault that keeps it safe. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that the very first words you speak when you wake determine the network of your entire day. If you wake and immediately report on your tiredness, or if your first thought is the calculation of a debt, you are like a builder who spends the night raising a mansion only to tear it down at dawn. But if you wake and decree your victory, you anchor the gold into the physical earth. Tonight, we are programming the ritual of the awakened self into your very cells so that it becomes as natural as your own heartbeat. Whenever you naturally wake from this sleep, you will move from the silence into life with a specific, holy rhythm. Before you check your phone, before you let the noise of the world enter your ears, and before you even rise from your bed, you will sit up, take a deep breath of the infinite, and speak your morning practice decree. I wake as a wealthy person. During the night, while my body rested, the spirit that never slumbers has worked through my consciousness, dissolving every block to my prosperity and installing the perfect divine design for my success. I'm not a person hoping for wealth. I am the embodiment of wealth itself. I am not looking for my good. I am the magnet that my good is currently finding. I wake with gratitude. I thank the infinite spirit for this new day, this day of miracles, this day of finished victory. I thank thee for the manifest gold that is even now flowing into my life through expected and unexpected channels. I thank thee for the doors that are swinging wide, for the people who are blessing me, and for the wisdom that is guiding my every step. My cup runneth over before the sun has even reached its peak. I wake expecting miracles. Today, something wonderful is going to happen. Today, a ship of mine is coming in over a calm sea. Today, an opportunity is going to present itself that I could not have imagined yesterday. Today, I am receiving my full reward for every word of faith I have ever spoken. I am in the right place, at the right time, doing the right thing, for the right people, and receiving the right pay, under grace and in a perfect way. I wake to follow divine guidance. Infinite Spirit, give me a clear lead today. Show me my next move. I am listening. I am watching. I am ready to move with the tide of thy great abundance. I take only inspired action, and every action I take creates a highway of wealth. Consider the story of an individual named Jordan. Jordan was a person who had spent years in the trance of the morning worry. Every day for a decade, Jordan would wake up and immediately feel a heavy weight on the chest. The first thoughts were always, how much is left in the account? How will I pay for the repairs? Why is life such a struggle? Jordan was a master of the law, but was using it to decree a new day of lack before ever getting out of bed. Jordan's life was a perfect mirror of those first 5 minutes, gray, anxious, and contracted. When Jordan encountered the law of the word, the shift began with a single morning. Jordan decided to flip the switch. Instead of the old report, Jordan began to speak the decree of the awakened self. For the first few days, the words felt like dry ash in the mouth. The logic of the brain pointed to the empty fridge and the late notices. But Jordan had been taught about the testing of the faith. Jordan said, I do not recognize the shadow. I only recognize the sun. By the second week, the heavy weight on the chest was gone. Jordan felt a strange, bubbling sense of expectation. On the 10th morning, while speaking the decree, Jordan had a divine lead, an idea for a service that Jordan's community desperately needed. Jordan acted on that lead that afternoon. Within a month, Jordan's income had tripled. Jordan realized that the wealth wasn't coming from the world. It was being released by the first words of the day. Jordan had become the master of the morning. When you rise, you must walk through your day as if you are already the person who has everything you desire. If you are a person with an unlimited account, how would you walk through a doorway? How would you speak to a stranger? How would you look at a bill? You would look with the poise of the sovereign. You would move with the ease of the opulent. You would speak with the authority of the heir. Florence reminded us that faith is the substance. If you wait for the money to arrive before you act like a wealthy person, you are a servant to circumstances. But if you act like a wealthy person now, the money has no choice but to manifest. Do not let your eyes deceive you. If you see a small balance in your account tomorrow, or a challenge in your business, do not fall back into the old name. Look at that circumstance and say, I salute the infinite gold that is currently manifesting through you. You are not a limit. You are a seed, and my harvest is already here. Treat your day as a series of divine appointments. You are now living in the state of the finished victory. Before you descend into the final silence of this night, I invite you to perform the act of physical anchoring. This tells your subconscious that you are no longer hiding in the shadows of, I hope. It tells the universe that you are standing in the light of, I am. Declare your presence to the global community we have built here. State to the world, I am the awakened master of my supply. My harvest is manifest now. Read the declarations of others and bless them as you do. As they rise, you rise. We are a grid of light, and tonight, your light is the brightest it has ever been. Imagine yourself now standing on the high balcony of your inner mansion. The sun is rising over a sea of liquid gold. You are wearing a garment made of the highest frequency of faith. You look out over the landscape of your life, and you see that every desert has blossomed into a garden, every wall has become an open door, and every debt has been erased by the hand of grace. You feel the weight of the scepter in your hand, the wand of the spoken word. You whisper to the morning air, "It is finished." And the infinite spirit whispers back, "It is manifest." Everything you have decreed tonight is now part of your fixed reality. The invisible has become the substance, and the substance is now becoming the form. You are wealthy. You are opulent. You are free. You are successful. You are poised. You are abundant. You are the flow. You are the gold. You are the light. Everything you touch prospers. Everything you do succeeds. Every word you speak manifests. You are the master of your wand. You are the architect of your life. You are the channel for infinite supply. You have been in the divine workshop, and your life has been rewritten in letters of gold. I give thanks for the wealth that is now manifest. I give thanks for the abundance that is now visible. I am rich in mind. I am rich in body. I am rich in spirit. I am rich in bank. I am rich in home. I am rich in life. My supply is inexhaustible. My income is ever increasing. I am a match for the opulence of the universe. Infinite Spirit, I give thanks for the millions of dollars that are mine by divine right. They now reach me under grace and in a perfect way. I am no longer blocked. I am the flow itself. I am divinely guided to my perfect work for the perfect pay, in a perfect way, under grace. The walls of lack have fallen. I walk on the golden path of my divine design. My cup runneth over. I am the wealthy one. My supply is unfailing. My source is infinite. My victory is won. I no longer look at the world through the eyes of lack. I look through the eyes of the Spirit. Where I once saw a desert, I now see an oasis. Where I once saw a wall, I now see a door. I am the master of my perception, and my perception is prosperity. I see my good clearly. I expect my good daily. I receive my good joyfully. Now, the blueprints for your day and your destiny have been laid. You have claimed your name, cleared your ledgers, and set your morning intention. The work of the conscious mind is finished. As you continue to rest through the remainder of this night, we enter the realm of the pure word. In the silence that follows, I will speak the master decrees of the kingdom. You do not need to do anything. You only need to be. Let these words be the heartbeat of your sleep. Let them settle into the deepest soil of your soul. When you naturally wake, you awake as the master of your wand. Listen now to the voice of the Spirit as we seal your wealth in the great silence. Infinite Spirit, open the way for the divine design of my life to manifest now. I am a wide open channel for the golden stream of thy abundance. My supply is immediate, permanent, and ever increasing under grace and in a perfect way. Every bill is a sign of my plenty, and I bless it as it returns to me multiplied. I am divinely guided to my perfect work for the perfect pay in a perfect way. My word is my wand, and it creates a highway of wealth through every wilderness. I do not look to man as the source of my supply. I look to the infinite Spirit. I am a non-resistant being, and I allow my greater good to unfold without effort. The walls of lack now fall before my shout of praise and my steady faith. I am a magnet for all that belongs to me by divine right. My ships come in over a calm sea, heavy with the treasures I have called forth. I cast every burden of financial worry upon the divine within, and I go free. I am the master of my finances, and money is a faithful servant to my will. There is no scarcity in the divine mind. Therefore, there is only overflow in my life. I salute the divinity within every dollar I spend, knowing it returns 1,000-fold. I am now drawing from the inexhaustible storehouse of the kingdom. Divine intelligence gives me a clear lead, and I follow it with joy and certainty. I no longer answer to the name of struggle. My new name is success. I have, plenty to hold, and plenty to spare for the good of all. Every door that was closed now swings wide upon its hinges by the power of the word. I am one with the source, and the source is always flowing. I am wealthy in mind, body, spirit, and reality. I expect miracles today, and the universe provides them lavishly. I am worthy of the extraordinary, the opulent, and the best that life offers. My income is not fixed. It is a fountain that never runs dry. I live in the state of finished victory, for the law is not mocked. All that the Father has is mine, and I claim my inheritance now. I am a match for the opulence of the universe, for I am made of the same substance. Under grace and in a perfect way, my harvest is manifest in the sun. It is finished. It is done. It is so. Our pilgrimage is complete. Your covenant is sealed. You are walking now on the golden path of your divine design, and every step you take is a step of victory. Remember, the law is not mocked, and your harvest is a mathematical certainty. Go forth into this day with the poise of the sovereign and the peace of the opulent. The gold is yours. The success is yours. The freedom is yours. I bless you. I bless your day. I bless your demonstration. Under grace and in a perfect way. Amen. Amen. Amen.